Welcome back. I have Daryl, Catherine, and myself to talk about evaluation methods. Daryl, how did you evaluate the idea of becoming part of the MOOC?
Well, when we first started talking about the MOOC, you might remember, Jack, we met for lunch, and I already had a zillion items on my plate, many more than I could do in the time that I had. And now all of a sudden you were bringing this additional, very large idea into my head. I thought, oh, where am I going to find the time to fit in that extra idea? Well, I went home and I spoke with my wife, Stephanie, about it, and I'm telling her about the idea and how I can't possibly fit another thing in my schedule. And she looks at me and she says, Daryl, this sounds like what you've been wanting to do. And it dawned on me that that was the case. So we started talking in the days after that, got more involved. I opened up a little bit of time to work on the MOOC and pushed some other things aside. And that just energized me even more to work on it for the time that I had. So it opened up more time and more time. And it seemed like the more I worked on it, the more time that I kept opening up on that MOOC. It just energized me.
And I could see the passion rising in you to do this, to make it happen. And Catherine, what was your experience?
Well, I think it's similar that energy, what energizes you is a very important thing in making decisions and evaluating ideas. Sometimes I break down that energy a little bit. So I kind of think about categories. In particular, Freud came up with a way of thinking about making choices in terms of three things. He says sometimes you choose the things you need, sometimes you choose the things that you like or prefer, and sometimes you choose things because you feel that you ought to do them. You feel a sense of obligation. So a quick example before the MOOC, I need to eat. Right? I need to eat every day. So if I get an invitation to go to my mother-in-law's house, she's an awesome cook, then I think, well, I need to eat, and boy, that's a great place to go. When I get to her house, there are certain things that she makes that I like better than others. So for example, she makes this amazing cake at Easter. She only makes it at Easter. It's phenomenal. But sometimes she has pickled herring. Well, I'm not a big fan of pickled herring, but I love this cake. So I like one better than the other, so I choose which one to eat. But I also feel a sense of obligation. I love my family, and I feel responsibility to them, and I feel a sense of obligation to honor and respect my mother-in-law.
So these are almost like values or virtues within yourself.
Yes, and so those obligations then sometimes, maybe I'll choose to eat something on the table that isn't my favorite because she spent extra time on it, and I want her to feel appreciated. So with the MOOC, I think it touched all three. It was something that I need. This camaraderie, this intellectual stimulation is something that I need. I like the topic. You know, it's one of my favorite subjects in the world. And I feel a sense of obligation to share it with as many people as possible. So in a way, it touched all three of those.
Yeah, what you're saying reminds me of a book that I read. It's called The Pumpkin Plan. And it's about how do you grow these large prize-winning pumpkins. And I used to grow these when I was a kid, actually. Not as big probably as the prize winners today. But the author had several key steps. He said the first step is to get good seeds. And good pumpkin seeds for these award-winning pumpkins can cost $2,000 each. So it takes a lot of work to get the right seeds. The second thing is to thin them. And it's what we're talking about now, evaluating them and thinning them. You can't, if you have too many ideas, you can't find the slack time, the extra time to invest in what you're doing. So you need to thin those pumpkins out. And the third piece that the author discussed was to nurture those plants, to fertilize them, to water, to really pour energy into them and get them to grow. And then he didn't mention this, but the last step was to make sure you eat your piece of pumpkin pie at the end.
That's right.
Daryl, that was a great metaphor for what the MOOC's all about. You plant, you thin, you grow, you fertilize, and in the end, you have a great product. Goodbye for now.